guys, I realized that I have a background in, teaching people study skills that might be helpful for some of you guys. And I also realized that these study skills are probably going to be really applicable for people working professional jobs and just generally struggling with maybe some things that would fall under executive dysfunction. So I have a technique I call RNG productivity. And basically, what it's going to entail is we are going to use random number generation to help us get started on tasks. And so this is the template I have set up for us, and I will be providing this to people as well. So I'm going to take a second and just go ahead and, get it set up. But what we're going to do is, you see how we have these 6 notes? What we're going to do is we are going to pick a general theme that we want for each one of them, just as like a subsection of the things we need to do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break down the tasks that we need to do to fit under that subsection, but we want them to be manageable size. So what we want to aim for is for them to take 20 to 25 minutes each. And what's important about that is that it's going to make it where we're not doing that thing where we're looking at a to-do list and working on something for hours and just feeling utterly lost. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to go ahead and fill one out just as an example. So what we have here is I filled it out as like a tentative Spanish thing. So a couple of things to note here is that we have like a subject. So for this, it's like a school subject, but if you're looking at, a more professional setting, it could be something as simple as follow-ups. Which loose ends you have to tie up when reaching out to your peers or colleagues or with other organizations that you interact with. So we'll go and like kind of map out what that looks like, and I'll try and include some examples for what it might look like for a more professional setting. But another thing that's important to note here is, listening homework, we can assume that would take 20 to 25 minutes. We're going to operate under that assumption. But for composition, we shouldn't just put down composition because we are going to lose motivation if that's what we do. So what we put instead is we would break it down. So this could both fall under composition, introduction, or planning, right? But we broke it down to making the outline and to making the vocab list. So that way, you're planning out what the essay is, you're looking up words you think you're going to need. Because what that is it's bite-sized, but it's going to really put you in a position to actually make very solid progress on the project as you get these tasks completed. And what's important to have in your mind going from there is we have the 6 notes. So you don't need to use all 6, but 6 is what I enjoy because I actually started doing this with like a physical die. So I would roll it, go 1 through 6, and that's what I would work on. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these out with one more example, and we're going to kind of show what a school schedule might look like. And with one more example, I'm going to fill out all 6 just so we can kind of, maybe see some different areas where it would be useful. And, I'll probably extend this beyond just what we're going to be seeing in school subjects, because as a college student, I use this a lot for balancing schoolwork, but also balancing my home and professional life, and then kind of managing all of them together. So I think this is going to be something that's very helpful for some of you, and I'm hoping it's going to be helpful for a lot of you. But, it's going through some examples for how to actually make this function is going to be really important. And then after we get through some examples, I'm just going to go ahead and, walk us through how to actually use this. So I just wrote out 6 examples here, and I tried to include a variety of things so that it might, accurately reflect what life is actually going to look like. So we have Spanish, biology, assuming classes, email follow-ups. So maybe you just have some emails you need to follow up on, but they're a little bit more complicated than just a quick response. You want to make sure they don't fall to the wayside, but it's not something you can deal with immediately when you're just dealing with quick responses. Groceries and meal prep. I get my groceries delivered. I kind of operated under that assumption, but this is someone trying to keep up on, having their groceries, being able to prepare their meals, trying to save some money, maybe a healthier lifestyle, whatever works, right? Then we have healthcare. This is a real thing for me. I actually went to the ER over the weekend, so that was fun. But Bottom line is it's reality for a lot of people, especially when it comes to calling the pharmacy, scheduling with doctor's appointments, especially when it's really hard to get in touch with them. And then paying the bill in the health portal is also a real part of it. And then household and cleaning, and I included a lot on this list just to kind of make a point. But we have like taking out the trash, sweeping and mopping the floors, washing dishes, changing sheets, washing clothes. It's just a lot of those really small things that might bother us to not have done on a day-to-day basis or that pile up, and it can just be really stressful. So what a random number generator is a random number generator is something that you can just look up online. And I'll include some links in the description for that. But the bottom line is that you are going to have a computer algorithm that's going to do the equivalent of flipping a coin between however many numbers you set. And so in this situation, we have 6 notes, right? So we could have a number generation of 1 through 6. And so if it lands on 2, we're going to go ahead and do biology, right? And if it lands on something else, like if it lands on, 3, we're going to work on that. And realistically, it's not always going to go and just be super linear. We might land on the same thing twice. But what I always plan to do is I plan to get that number and have it land on whatever it is. So let's say, for example, it does land on 2. It does land on biology. What we're going to do in that situation is we are going to, let's say it takes us around 20-25 minutes to read chapter 8, right? So we're going to go ahead and cross that out. And excuse me, I meant chapter 7. So this doesn't necessarily mean we need to continue on to chapter 8 right now. Very well, we could very well go and just roll the number generator again. And let's say it lands on, 5 this time, and we're able to call the pharmacy, and we try to schedule the doctor's office to schedule, but it doesn't work. So I just go and put a little asterisk when I try it, and it has that issue. But we are able to pay bill in the health portal as well. So from there, we still have that last bit left. Let's say we do 4 next, and you finish that grocery list, and you're like, meh, I don't really want to do more right now. We do emails, you follow up with Morgan and Joshua, and then you're like, no, I don't really want to do this anymore. You're not at home, so maybe you're only doing 1 through 5 right now, right? So let's say that you again get number 5, and you're again getting healthcare, and you are able to get through to the doctor's office and do that. So what that means at this point is you are done with number 5. And so if you're familiar with RNG, the issue is that you can go through, it's through a number series. So you can't necessarily do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6 very easily. There are ways to do it, but not with most easy to access websites, etc. So the simple solution to that is literally to just, that's 5 now, And so there it is. And, maybe you just don't even have household or cleaning assigned to a number until you get home. So that way, it's not something you might roll on, right? You could do 1 through 5, but then if you keep completing tasks with a lower number, you're going to have to keep moving it down, right? So, you finish your healthcare, then you get Spanish, you finish the listening homework, and you do your outline, but you don't want to go and look up the words, You get 2, knock out your chapter 8. Wow, bio's done. We're going to change that to 2. We're going to change that to 3. You go and look for coupons, and while you're at it, you get some inspiration to go and look up your composition vocab for Spanish. Spanish is done. So you're looking at making that 1, you're making that 2. So you just have these 2 things left, really. And then you just follow it wherever you get, and hopefully, and most likely, you'll get all of this done. Get that checkbox. But, one part about that that's not ideal is that the 6, so the household and cleaning, wasn't necessarily included while we're going and doing all of this. However, I think it's very important to point out that, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is an issue. It doesn't mean that this failed. Because the entire point of having this 6 grid is that we can always rearrange what we need to get done depending on what tasks we have left and which ones are most critical. So let's say we could even just go and, while we're thinking of doing all this, we can just go and, give me a second, I'm just going to go ahead and erase this bottom bit and all this bit. So we're just going to go ahead and erase all of that just to kind of show you how easy it is to just kind of start over with this. And I will be including the blank template for all of y'all. But we can just say it's as simple as kitchen, bedroom, and living room. And just doing that. We don't even need to include these ones down here, right? So we can just be dishes, mop, you know, we could say in the living room we need to dust fan. We need to clear off table, the coffee table. For the bedroom, we want to laundry. We want to change sheets. So you can see now how we have all those tasks from the cleaning and household section of it, but we're able to go ahead and we're able to go and put that into new categories as we get home, and that becomes our focus. And then let's say you still had to do Spanish, right? So let's say you still had some Spanish, then you could just include that here. You could just say outline. And then, you know, like you did before, gonna use a fun pen here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you can kind of rinse and repeat with this strategy, which is why I like it so much. It's nearly infinite almost, and I like to map it out this way, but you can also use number word documents, things like that. So I think it's really approachable for a lot of people. I think that it can be really helpful whether you're a student, an adult, anything else. And I've even seen it used with crafters that I've recommended it to, and they said it worked really well for them, of just plug and play with whatever work in progress project you have going on. And then you can just work on that bad boy till you get a little bit tired of it, switch over. Or maybe it's a day where you just have a bunch of works in progress to go through and kind of just wrap up, and it just lets you just kind of pick them off a little bit at a time. And in another video, probably, I will go over another technique I really like that pairs with this, called the Pomodoro technique. But for right now, I think that this is going to be a good foundation, a good basis to kind of start thinking about how you want to group your tasks, how you want to do all of that. And I just want to point out that the really important part about this is keeping you motivated. It's not always about, you know, maximizing focus, being as efficient as possible, because all of that depends on your motivation. If you are tired, if you feel you are not getting anything done, it does not matter how caffeinated, well-fed, well-rested, or anything else you are. If you can work on a to-do list item for 6 hours and not get to cross anything off, that is depressing. You don't feel motivated. You feel utterly, you know, unproductive. You feel like you aren't getting anything you need to get done, and it's a horrible sinking feeling I'm sure all of you have experienced. So this is just one way to try and get around that. I'm hoping to upload a lot of other videos explaining some other techniques I found to be really helpful. With one of my positions on one of my work positions, I do work with students to help them with these kinds of skills, especially with neurodivergency. So I'm hoping that that skill set and that experience, whether anecdotal or research-based, because I have a blend of both, and kind of applying that in a way that, you know, it's almost like a tutorial for you guys. So that's kind of what I was aiming for here. I'm not fully sure how well I did, so please give me your feedback in the comments. I know on the technical side, I can use some improvement. I'm using Microsoft Whiteboard. But for right now, this is what we got going, and I wanted to go ahead and give this a try. Just, you know, kind of test the waters with making this kind of content. So I do hope that this was helpful for you, and I hope to see you in a future video.